Okay, fantastic. Welcome and good afternoon. My name is Hillary Goldstein. I'm the Public Programs Coordinator at the New York Transit Museum. If you haven't been to the museum, it is a unique space. We are located in downtown Brooklyn in a decommissioned I&D subway station. The museum is open Wednesday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have a couple of upcoming programs I want to quickly tell you all about. I'm going to put some links really quickly in the chat. First, we have next week on Thursday, May 15th, we have a program with scholar Alexander Wood at the museum. He'll be giving a talk on the subway's early construction and labor efforts. The following weekend, on Sunday, May 18th, we have our annual benefit at the museum for families called Party on Wheels. If you have kids, that's a great one to come to. And coming up the weekend of June 7th and 8th is Parade of Trains. This is a favorite event that we run. For the price of a regular subway ride, you'll have the chance to ride some of our vintage fleet back and forth between Brighton Beach and Kings Highway Station. So that's Saturday and Sunday, June 7th and 8th. The trains will be running between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. So we hope to see some of you there. Now for today's program, if you would like captions, just click on the CC button at the bottom of your screen and select Show Captions. If you don't see that button, you can just click on that 3 dots that says More, and you'll see an expanded menu of options. And for our discussion today, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat during the presentation. I'll be collecting those and sharing them at the end. Okay, so now I'm very pleased to introduce our presenter today. Sirui Ma is the London-based photographer whose work reflects the quiet beauty of everyday interactions and environments. Raised between Beijing, London, and New York, Ma's images trace her intimate explorations of community, memory, and place. So it's wonderful to have you with us today. So now I will hand it over to you.
Thanks, Hillary, and thanks everyone for joining. So today I will be talking about my book, Subway Portraits. Oops, 1 second. So a little about me. My name is Sirui Ma. I was born in Beijing and raised between there, London, and New York. I spent my late teens to early 20s in New York, and those formative years really shaped me, and I still consider New York to be my home despite now living in London. Growing up in New York, I got to see the world via the subway. It gave me a sense of independence. The freedom that the city granted me allowed me to explore my interests and figure out who I was as a young adult. The central theme of my work is noticing beauty in the quotidian. I am constantly looking and seeing. This is also true for my commercial work, an example of which is above, shot for a fashion brand. Mostly shot in everyday settings that are relatable and real with subjects that feel the same. And this is very important to me. I want viewers of my work to be able to see themselves in it. Talking a little bit about a previous publication that I did. New York Street Style is a previous publication published both in 2018 and as a second edition with new images in 2020 in support of Asian Americans Advancing Justice, a nonprofit helping battle the skyrocketing rate of anti-Asian hate crimes during the pandemic. Sorry, Hillary, I can't move the pointer for some reason.
Is it working now?
No.
Okay, I can always move it forward.
Oh, I think it's just lagging a lot. 1 second. Sorry, guys, technical difficulty. Okay. The format of this zine delved into my interest in common threads, repetition, and patterns in daily life. comprised of iPhone pictures of outfits seen in the streets of New York City, mostly in Chinese or predominantly Asian neighborhoods. This was a creative exercise and challenge to connect these daily observations of style together, to home these images in my phone onto pages that can be shared with others. The project was an ode to the energy of New York that make it feel like home, and also a love letter to the mostly Chinese and Asian American subjects that I see myself in. In my subjects, I saw a sense of familiarity. I loved the way they dressed and carried themselves, and I related to it. So each page was an iPhone image along with the geo coordinates, the longitude and latitude of where the image was taken. The zine was a study on my subconscious interests. I found that this was a way in which I enjoyed working, looking back into my personal archive and seeing the common threads that drew me to photographing a certain subject matter. And in this sort of repetition, I was able to extract something about myself as well. In many ways, New York street style was an exercise in bookmaking for me and a precursor to subway portraits.
Well, New Yorkers, you may see them every day on your commute. The subway conductors who safely get us from point A to point B. Now, they have such a big responsibility that often goes unnoticed, which is why one photographer wanted to shine a light on these transit heroes, we like to call them. The book Subway Portraits takes a look at New York City train conductors, and the photographer is joining me now, Sirui Ma. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so you grew up in Queens.
Yes.
What was your inspiration behind capturing these unique faces?
Well, growing up in Queens, you know, I got to see so many different parts of the world just by going to different parts of the city on the subway, and I've always appreciated the subway and the people that move us. Yeah, so I've always been fascinated by subway conductors, their style. I love how they emerge from the train just to disappear and become one with the train again. And I wanted to know what a day in their life is like, what their job entails, and this project was a way for me to ask them those questions.
What has been some of the reaction from the faces and the people that you have captured?
Well, I wanted to get consent for all of them partaking in my project. So I want to say actually 60% of them said no, which was understandable because not everyone feels photo ready on the job. I probably would have said no too. But the ones that did say yes, some of them were curious about my project, some of them were surprised that I wanted to do a project about them, and some of them simply smiled and put on lip gloss.
You know, you mentioned that they get us to where we need to go. But sometimes that job can be stressful.
Yeah.
Were there any faces that you captured where you can get a sense of what their day was like?
Definitely, and I feel like some of them felt relief just to receive a bit of kindness from a stranger, and I feel like that's what this project is about.
What else did you learn from this project?
I think for me personally, the biggest takeaway is to just dive into an idea that you have. I could have spent so long in my head about all the what ifs that could have arisen from doing this project, but it was great to just dive into it and to just let it take on its own form.
Seeing some of the photos just come up, you also capture just the diversity of the city, which is great to see, you know, in this job. Is there anything else that you're working on that we should know about?
Well, I am also working on a different book at the moment of about 10 years of pictures that I've never shown anyone. It's more like a diary, a snapshot of everyday life, and it's more centered around my mom and the friendships in my life, and I'm really excited for that to come out maybe early next year. But yeah, I think a lot of my work is just about making people feel seen and beautiful, and this project was a great way for me to dedicate my work to the subway conductors the way they have for us.
It's something about the human face that is so telling. It's great to capture a great portrait and a face.
Yeah.
What are you feeling when you're able to capture the conductors specifically in that moment?
I think one of the things about this project was that, you know, I shot them in such a uniform and rigid way that and they're also wearing their uniform, and so that really allows their personality to come through in each portrait. And so it's just really an appreciation for the city and how different we all are, but yet we all move together.
All right, well, we got to bring you back with that new project. Thank you so much for
Thanks
joining us.
for having me.
All right, to see more Siri's photography or to purchase Subway portraits, you can go to the website right there on your screen, SiriMa.com. I love your name, too. It just sounds like a star.
Thank you.
So that was Erin from Pix11. She was
Well, New
super
Yorkers,
sweet.
you may see them every...
Oh, sorry about that. And so here is the cover of the book. And here is a picture of me in high school that my friend took, Forest Hills High School, where I went to. Subway conductors have long intrigued me, and I wanted to thank them for their often thankless work. I love their style. They appear and disappear so fleetingly, one with the train cars, and photographing them became a way for me to explore my curiosities. Oops. It's happening again, Hillary. Oh my gosh. I think it's just really lagging. Apologies. Oh. Okay. I think we're okay now. Looking back through my personal archives in the process of creating this book, I realized that my curiosity and intrigue about the subway, specifically the conductors, trace back many years. This was a picture probably taken on my iPod Touch back when I used to use one as a phone. And I realized later on that underneath this striped board is where the conductor's car is. So that was a nice full circle moment when gathering images for this book. And this was also many years ago when I took some pictures of the conductor's car when the door accidentally swung open. So the bulk of the series in Subway Portraits was shot on June 2nd, 2023. I was staying at my friend Malcolm's place in Bed-Stuy and began my shoot at Utica Avenue Station around 10:30 a.m. after my friend Justin helped me test the lighting. As I got into the flow of speedily giving my elevator, or rather subway platform pitch, to the conductors as each train stopped at the platform, I also got more comfortable with the approximately 60% rejection rate from them when I asked for permission to photograph them. I knew it wasn't personal. I realized that I myself would be wary of being photographed at work in my uniform without any advance notice. The fear of rejection from potential subjects was what initially held me back from pursuing this project, and now I felt a relief. I had spent so long shooting at Utica Avenue that I even saw the same conductor, the first one I photographed, twice. After shooting for a while, I took a break for lunch back at the apartment and thought I ought to write my contact information on a piece of paper so the conductors could take it and get in touch should they wish to receive their photograph from me. So I handwrote my name, Instagram, and website maybe up to 100 times on paper I ripped out from a notebook and cut them into small individual slips to hand out. I spent the rest of the day shooting at Roosevelt Avenue Jackson Heights Station in Queens, the first station I lived near when I moved to New York, and later on at either West 4th or Broadway Lafayette Station. I forget now which one, but it was one of the two. All of these stations held a personal significance to me. My first home in New York, the home my friend kindly shared with me, and a station I would frequent when I grew up in New York. And here is the first bit of text when you open the book. From my home in Rego Park to my mother's office in Jackson Heights. From my best friend's house on 99th Street to Queen Center Mall. From my dorm on 25th Street to college on 68th. And from my first shared apartment in Brooklyn the first time I lived with a boyfriend, to JFK. The subway always took me where I needed to go. Initially, I thought the book would only be the more formal medium format portraits, such as the one above. After my friend Eli Rosenblum came on board to design the book with me, we realized that having other elements of text and iPhone photos really enriched the project and breathed life into it, making it feel more personal and contextual. Some of the conductors I photographed said, "I'm shy, can I look away?" or that they weren't really supposed to look into a camera on the job. So it was cute to see all the different personalities come through in that way. For the second part of the book, we created a section comprised of 12 years worth of iPhone and even iPod Touch photos that I've taken on the subway, dividing them into subcategories. We added bits of my handwriting that became little captions for the pictures. In many ways, this part of Subway Portraits is a nod and acknowledgement to my previous zine pictured above. This was the second edition of the New York Street Style zine. From the subject matter of images taken on the go to the use of an iPhone, New York Street Style and the phone section of Subway Portraits are both magnifications of the beauty in mundane everyday moments spent in transit. Another significant part of the book is my conversation with Kayada Collins, a conductor I photographed who reached out to me afterwards, and we had a FaceTime chat and became friends. We're around the same age, but being in the creative world, I don't have many friends who work outside the field. It was so cool to learn about how she came to be a subway conductor and what her day-to-day is like. This is something I really treasure about my work, to be able to meet and make friends with people through photographing them. A few other contributions to the book were texts by my friends Hua Xu and Raquel Silver. They have very different backgrounds and relationships to the city, and it was valuable for me to convey those different experiences of the subway through their words. So I will read both of their contributions. So this is from Hua. Whenever I can, I always try and stand by the conductor's cubicle. Someone probably told me this was the safest place on the train when I moved to the city, though I've never seen the door swing open, no matter what the emergency. But as I'm on my way to work, I like to imagine the contours of their tiny office, hidden in plain sight, protected from our dramas and grumbles. Can they hear us? Is there room to sit in there? Can they tape pictures to the walls or add any personal touches? And is the guy who runs the Uptown 4 on weekdays just before 7 in the morning really that cheerful? I shout thanks as I get off the train, that brief moment when the window is down, but they never hear. They seal their office again, rumbling to the next station, a few more seconds of peace and quiet before the next stop. And this is from my best friend Raquel. As a teenager, I attended a pre-college program at FIT called Saturday Live, where I studied fashion design. I lived far out in Queens and had to take the train into the city for it. One time when I was walking underground near Penn Station at 7 a.m. on a quiet Saturday, a man grabbed me from behind and lifted me up off the ground. I screamed like I had never screamed in my life, and I thrashed. He let go, and I ran all the way to my class. When I was in my mid-20s, I lived on the east side of Harlem on 117th and Lexington. One day when I was very tired heading home from work, on the 6th train, I accidentally fell into a group of kids, and they were getting crazy with me. I was exhausted and not standing up for myself well, and a complete stranger, a middle-aged man, told them to leave me alone and urged me to come sit next to him. He asked me where I was going. I said 116th Street, and he took the train with me to my stop. It was so kind, and I'll never forget it. One time, a random lady sitting next to me on the train gave me a cough drop when I was sick too. Those kind moments on the subway are memories I hold near and dear, especially now that I don't live in New York City anymore. Every time I'm home, I feel revitalized and recentered from riding the train. Here is the back cover of the book. The book also features my friend Leon's painting of a subway tunnel as its belly band and an art print insert. So here is the painting cropped on the book. I befriended Leon through Instagram. When I found his work, I felt immediately drawn to it. The softness of the images feel similar to the warmth of nostalgia that I tried to portray through my own work. We would go on to be best friends. I want to say that our work ethos is similar, though our practice is in different mediums. Of course, this image of the first or last car of the subway was very on theme for the book. I imagined the drivers of the trains and their views of the subway tunnels and how it feels to take us all through them. The feeling this painting elicits brings me back to when I would stand in front of these windows, gazing into the tunnel as the train speeds on, experiencing an almost childlike wonder every time my eyes relaxed and going slightly out of focus. The public reception to the book was really unexpected and in many ways life-changing. Initially, I thought maybe it's a project my immediate circles would respond to, but to see people's reactions and shared appreciation for the work and the subway conductors and subway system as a whole really warmed my heart. This was a comment that I received from the Pix 11 video that you guys saw earlier. I was pleasantly surprised to see my picture because I remember that day when you took it and just wondered what became of it. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for showing kindness, appreciation for what we do. I love what I do, but often feel taken for granted and making me feel seen. In a place where many don't respect us, let alone appreciate what we do. I feel so happy and can't wait to get the book. Thank you. So this was actually one of the conductors that was in one of the previous slides. Now we are also Instagram friends. Creating subway portraits was such a life-changing and purpose-affirming project for me. At the heart of what I do as an artist is a desire to make people feel seen and feel beautiful. And I'm so glad and honored to have been able to achieve that through this book and to have passed on this sense of appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your project and giving us this kind of insider view. And we'd like to open it up for questions. If anybody has questions more about Suri's work or subway portraits, feel free to add to the chat and we can ask them out. I have a few questions for you as well. There is some interest in the book, but I understand that it's already sold out. Do you have a way for people to sign on to a list in case you decide to reprint?
Yes, you can email me via my website and I'll take note of anyone who wants a copy in case we do print a second edition.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm interested, were there any particular photographers or artists kind of who maybe inspired you or influenced you, your work, and also this project?
Definitely. I think there's a lot of people whose work I admire that like consciously or subconsciously, consciously or subconsciously influence my work. For example, there's a project that I really love called Exactitudes where it was through like kind of looking at subcultures or style. Um, the photographer duo kind of grouped people together by their culture or location, and that was really cool. Um, I really love portraits by this American photographer, Dowd Bay. Um, he did these class pictures when he traveled across the US in various high schools. And it was like the picture of a teenager and like something that they wanted to say to him underneath. So yeah, it's just like very kind of direct, direct, honest, but like very beautifully executed kind of photojournalistic style images that I feel most drawn to and I'm most interested in creating.
Great. So there's a question. How many days did you take pictures of the train crew? I think you had said you had done this over just
Um,
one day?
yes, it was actually one full day, so from like 10:30 to I think 6 or 7 p.m. Um, yeah, and then the second portion of the book, which is all the text and the iPhone pictures span a period of 12 plus years. And the text obviously were contributions that I asked for from friends for the sole purpose of the book.
Was the plan always to do just the one day, or did you think possibly you would extend it over time and kind of see what else you would do?
I I think the one day felt like decent enough for me. Because after that, after I had chatted with Kayada, the conductor that whose interview, or rather conversation is in the book, she told me that the conductors do not work on the same train line every day. So you get a good mix of different people that might be on completely different train lines the next day. So I think it felt like a good variety.
And how did that work logistically? Because I'm just imagining a train pulls into a station and it's there for like 30 seconds. That doesn't give you much time to build rapport and create these relationships.
No, not at all. I was kind of stumbling in the beginning, but after a while, I just made sure to keep it like quite direct and concise. And by handing them my information, they could find out more if they were interested. But obviously, because the time is so short, they could just say yes or no, and then they could decide later if they are interested in hearing more about the project.
So in terms of sharing the project with them at the end, were you able to find them, or was it just the few people that reached out to you, or how did that piece work?
Yeah, the people who reached out to me, I have like sent them the project. And sometimes like the trips to New York that I've taken since the project came out, I've even recognized a few of them in the subway that when I was taking the subway. But I feel like maybe they didn't remember me. And that's also completely fine.
Yeah.
I'm just another person they encounter uh yeah, on their day-to-day routine.
Yeah. There's a kind of a technical question here. Did you have any challenges with low light or movement in order to get kind of your shots?
Um, I did actually. So there is a section of the book that Jacob, you'll know, of contact sheets of all the pictures that I've taken during the day. And some of them, the flash didn't go off, because I was completely shooting analog. So I couldn't really see what was happening. And sometimes because the flash takes a while to cycle, it wouldn't trigger for some shots. So you just kind of have to, for each shot, do like 2 or 3 takes to ensure that the flash went off.
Okay. Make sure you're covering your bases.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so thinking about this as like the one day project of the conductors, but then you have the 12-year kind of project of taking subway photos. Did you know kind of as you were taking those what that project was going to be, or was this something you kind of curated looking back?
Definitely the latter, looking back, because like when I was taking the pictures, it was probably just like, oh, a funny moment, or like, oh, this looks like someone's doppelganger. Like in the book, there was a girl that really looked like Rihanna, and I took a picture of her, and I think I put it on Instagram or something, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, I thought that was her." So it's just like funny little, yeah, everyday moments like that. And then in hindsight, I was like, okay, these are things that I'm noticing on my commutes, and it's quite interesting to see what themes played out.
Right. So it seems like you've been drawn to taking photographs on the subway for quite a while. Is there a reason you were drawn to that as like a space or a place or a subject?
I think not necessarily. I guess it's more so that like there's lots of characters and funny moments that happen on the subway. But I'm in daily life, I think I'm kind of constantly taking pictures of funny or interesting stuff that's around me.
Yeah. What was the most like surprising or maybe unexpected reaction to the book?
Surprising. I think it was probably from the lady that left that comment. I thought that felt really like I'm not really necessarily making the book for anyone else in a way. Like it's kind of a personal fulfillment for me, but to know that it serves someone else in this kind of really beautiful way, I think that was like really touching for me.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you've sold out, so it seems like it's kind of touched a lot of people in a lot of different ways. What kind of is
Yeah.
your hope that people are going to take away from seeing these images?
I think it's to just be more present in your daily life, and everyone we encounter, they have their own life going on, and to treat one another with kindness. Yeah, and to really see one another.
Well, looking at a comment, it says, "Wow, that was beautiful. Makes the subway feel more human than one usually feels while riding." So I think perhaps that's captured that idea,
Yeah,
which
thank
is
you, Larry.
great. There's
Yeah.
another question about kind of another book on the R211. Do you think that the subway is going to continue to be a subject that you're going to return to in the future?
Mm, I don't think so. Everyone keeps asking me that. Even my friends in London were like, "Are you gonna make a project on the tube?" And I'm just like, "No, I think it was a one and done." I also don't love the new subway cars so much. The lighting is too strong, feels very sterile. And maybe it's just also because I didn't grow up riding those trains, so there's no personal connection or like nostalgia associated with them.
Yeah, it's interesting. Um, so great. Let's see. So what else is then next and kind of on your radar, your next big project or plan?
Um, hmm. Yeah, I think actually still, as I mentioned in the video interview, I'm still working on that scene. Oh, sorry, that book. Book projects can kind of be endless when you are only on your own deadline. So my friend Florine, who's editing that book, and we've kind of been going through like quite an endless edit. But hopefully it'll be out this year.
And you like making projects for books. Do you do exhibitions as well? Is there a reason why you would pick one or the other as your kind of outlet?
I did an exhibition last summer, but I find that the book as a physical object is something that I feel maybe more connected to. Like maybe with an exhibition, it's not something that someone can take with them or like can physically interact with in that kind of way. So yeah, I'm quite interested in like how the book travels in a way.
Oh, that's a great idea. And As we have Denise says here, as a subway employee, it's always nice to be appreciated and recognized for a usually thankless job. So I think that's kind of speaks to another
so much.
another outcome of your.
Thank you for moving up.
That's wonderful. Well, I think that kind of wraps up. If there's any few other questions, feel free to add them into the chat. There was a kind of a desire to see that interior conductor and cabin photo again. So maybe we can travel back there.
See if I can. There's images from the book that are also available on my website if you want to. I'm assuming you're referring to these, Marty.
Or maybe when it was just the door was open, perhaps the empty cab.
Oh, maybe.
I think there's always a fascination with spaces that we're not usually
Yeah, it's like forbidden fruit.
access to. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again for coming and sharing this work with us. It's been really great to hear kind of your experiences, and I think it's always great to see the subway in a different light than the usual, and I think your project really accomplishes that. And it really makes visible the people who make the system run that we might not notice on a regular basis. So thanks for providing that spotlight. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what you're going to do next. Here, let me put a couple of links just as our kind of wrap up.
Yes.
Okay, so lost my notes there. Okay, so thank you again to our audience members for coming today. Again, we'd love to see you at the museum if you're in town and at some of our upcoming programs. So the links in the chat are information to visit the museum. If you enjoyed the program, please consider making a donation or becoming a member. And you can do so on our website. There's lots of great benefits. And of course, we hope to see you at more upcoming programs. That's a link to our program calendar, and you can find all these on our website. So we hope to see you again and at future programs. Thank you again, Siri, for sharing your work. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Having me.
It was wonderful to have you.
Bye. Thanks everyone for coming.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.